And that's when we had Eric Bischoff on. We were talking about how he went from this octagon ring, and it was switched back to the square ring. And I felt that the octagon ring was really what made you guys stand out.
Right.
Uh,
It did. It was different, and it gave a complete new look. Your style had to change. It was a little quicker game. Uh, you had to know where you were in the ring. Because when you have four corners, it's a little easier to pick and choose than six. So, you don't want to get thrown into the ropes when you want to end up in the corner. And when you have a bunch of options, you don't know where you're going to go. So, sometimes you have to run crooked and change direction. But it was a bit confusing at first, but, I enjoyed the six-sided ring. I thought it was different, and I thought it made us stand out.
Okay, Prince, you're coming in here from Kansas City. You got a question to ask?
Yeah. I've been a huge fan. You're the only one I haven't really got to see live out of all the wrestlers. It's so many wrestlers I have seen. But I have a question. We was talking about TNA. Main Event Mafia. Like, how did that all come about with you, Sting, and
Nash,
Booker T, all of them? Like, how did that come about? Because that was one of the iconic moments and iconic factions that a lot of people really don't talk about.
Yeah, well, the Main Event Mafia was created by Kevin Nash. I think Kevin he's very creative with picking, groups like, NWO and the Wolfpack, and, he decided that we were going to do a Main Event Mafia. He wanted to do a Mafia, and he thought, we're all main eventers, so let's make it Main Event Mafia. And I thought it was a great idea. And, I was surprised they wanted me to be a leader, but at the time I was pretty much myself and Scott Steiner were the only full-time wrestlers down there. So they picked me to be the leader, the Godfather. And, I was surrounded by Scott Steiner, Sting, Kevin Nash, and who's the other one?
Booker T was one.
Booker T, yes. Yeah, Booker. So we it was pretty cool. We had a lot of fun doing it. There were a lot of good storylines, and we went against other teams, and it was in my mind, it was the best faction I've been part of. And I was part of Team Angle too, but the Main Event Mafia was a little more special for me. It was really cool to have all those guys and, wearing suits and sunglasses and looking like badasses. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Mike, do you got one before we get into asking him about his chips?
My dream match is Bret Hart. I wish I would have gotten to wrestle Bret. He was the one guy when I started wrestling that I started watching videotapes of him and wanting to portray him. He was such a great technician, and he was the guy back then in 96, 97, 98. So I wanted to have a match with Bret. I actually called him in 2003, and I told him, hey, let's have a match at WrestleMania. You don't have to bump. I know you had the stroke, and I know that the kick from Goldberg got you, your bell rung, but you don't have to bump. I'll do all the bumping, but Bret said no, and I understand why.
Yeah.
He did not think that he would be able to put on the Bret Hart performance that he could at the time, and me being older now and being in the position that he was in, I agree. I wouldn't come out of retirement to have a dream match with somebody that was in their prime and I couldn't keep up with them. So it's not a dream match if it's, if you're not being able to keep up with your opponent. So, I understood why he said no. Crazy thing is he ended up wrestling Vince in a street fight a couple of years later. And I was like, oh, well, but understand it was Vince. It wasn't me. So, the wrestling ability was a little different. So that's why, it didn't happen.
Okay,
Yeah, you and Brett would have been a great match. I met him when I was a kid, and he actually sharpshooted me on stage in Burnaby in front of like a bunch of people. Obviously not as hard as he could go, but it was a memory that I'll never forget. It was a pretty cool experience.
He's a really nice guy. He's good to his fans. Yes.
I've never even heard that story. Out of all the times we've talked about Bret Hart and how we met him even at lacrosse that time, you never told me that story.
I got pictures of it. There's a sports card show in Burnaby, right on stage.
Oh, jeez. So I got a few
That's
more.
awesome.
I got a few more of your stats to run over, but let's talk about these chips. Can you tell us what we got and which one of these flavors am I trying right now?
Well, there's sriracha, honey barbecue, kung po. You have pizza flavor.
I'm going buffalo.
There's cinnamon swirl. There's a lot of great flavors. Honey mustard. They're amazing. You're gonna love them. The Chicken Snacks by Physically Fit Nutrition. This is my company, and this is the product that we're selling. And I'm really proud of the product. It's done great reviews. Every review has been 4 or 5 stars, and we got picked up by Amazon, and we're starting to move in stores. So it's our online is our biggest. That's physicallyfit.com. Order them. Anyone out there that's interested. These are made from chicken breast. They're little Chex Mix type of texture that is flavored with sriracha or honey barbecue, kung po, all the different flavors. And we have a plant protein. Those are the white ones. So if you're not into the meat, the plant protein is just as good. And the nutritionals are incredible. They're high protein, low carbohydrate.
Thank you, Kurt. We definitely will be handing those out to our friends to try.
You still have the tiny cowboy hat, and I think that's it sitting in the background.
Yes. Oh boy.
Yeah, we gotta get you to put that on here on my show here.
Hold on a second. Okay. Here.
All right.
There it is. There it is.
This is it. The Kurt Angle cowboy hat that Stone Cold Steve Austin gave me. This is the one.
Oh yeah.
You know what I did? This was supposed to go in the WWE archives. They're going to be pissed that I said this. And they wanted to retrieve it after I got done with the program. And I told them I lost it. And I kept it. Hey, a cowboy hat, mini cowboy hat that Stone Cold gave me, I'm keeping it forever.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Of course.
You at one point went over to fight in New Japan. How was it? How was it over there in New Japan and the stadium? I mean, I hear from all the wrestlers that it's really awesome over there.
And fighting Hiroshi, what was that like?
It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed going over there. I decided not to do it anymore because my body started to get beat up. I was working in TNA and also doing New Japan, and it was getting to be a little bit too much. And then I dropped the title to Nakamura, I think, or Tanahashi.
Yeah, Tanahashi's on. I got it written in my notes.
Tanahashi. Yeah. So I did wrestle Nakamura too. He was really fun to wrestle with. But Tanahashi was a great athlete too. We had a lot of fun. But my best match was against Yuji Nagata. If you never saw that match, you have to watch it. It's as good as any of my matches in WWE. And we never met each other before. We met that day. We barely touched. And I didn't know if I had chemistry with him, but he was such an incredible worker. He was just a great veteran. He knew how to adapt, and his selling was incredible. I remember I had him in a hold, and his eyes went up into his head like the Undertaker, and it was gory, but it was a great sell. It was like, oh my gosh, this guy's a freak. But he had all the tools to be who he was. He had to be one of the best wrestlers in Japan's history.